Hi, this is Regina White Favors. I'm the English faculty and instructor for this course. So this is an 8-week online course, fall 2022, and I want to just welcome you to this English 1301 course. Do make sure that you become familiar with the eCampus part of the course, read the syllabus under syllabus and instructor, and then begin looking at the first set of lectures, which are preparing for transition lectures under lessons and assignments tab. Thank you very much for choosing this course. Again, my name is Regina White Favors. I'm the English faculty member for this course. So I do have a bachelor's and master's in English from San Diego State University, although I am from Dallas. I relocated to San Diego back in '96 because I wanted something different. And so I spent about 10 years in San Diego, loved it. Moved back because there were just more teaching opportunities back in 2006. And I haven't regretted that decision. So I'm very happy to be here in Dallas and also teaching this course. So my research interests include first year composition theory and practices. So anything that's connected to writing, helping students understand the writing processes, that is my goal. Mindset is a concept that I have been introduced to, I think, somewhere around 2014-15, and it's Carol Dweck's concept of mindset. And the title of her book is Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. And so that is a concept that I really do care about, fixed mindset versus growth mindset, and helping students move from this idea of surviving challenges and actually overcoming challenges as well. Grit is also a concept that falls under Angela Lee Duckworth's concept of grit, and it is a scholarly term. So whatever has been your exposure, your experiences with grit, especially within the sports context, when you undergo the grit essay lectures, which will begin after the preparing for transition lectures, you'll find how important it is to understand the differences between self-control and grit. And self-control is also one of those terms that I also tend to care about as well. Motivation falls under intrinsic versus extrinsic motivations, where there's a difference between you being concerned about learning for learning's sake versus receiving the awards for learning, or the praise, meaning that you learn based upon your ability to be praised for it and not just because you need to learn. So that learning goal orientation and performance goal orientation falls under those types of concepts as well, where you're learning for learning's sake versus performing, you are performing for performance sake. You may demonstrate knowledge, but you could not necessarily explain it to someone. And then social learning, essentially how we learned from the time we were young to how we learn today, and how we either apply those concepts, those practices and skills, and move them forward, or what is the gap in our understanding about how to move knowledge forward. And then feedback and assessment is something that I have begun to study. I'm in the process of creating an annotated bibliography for it, so that I can really truly understand it. I know how to provide feedback for my students and their papers, but just understanding the role of assessment when it comes to feedback within the composition classroom is something that I am studying, and I actually created a research project. So this is me, uh, Regina White Favors, English faculty, and these are my research interests. Important dates that you need to consider. So this course runs from October 17th, 2022 to December 8th, 2022. So the drop date without a W would be October 24th. With the W would be November 23rd. I structured the assignments on a Monday to Thursday sort of timeline, leaving Sunday as the due date for major essays. Any related assignments have their own respective due dates, so do be sure to follow the calendar for more information. There will be some flexibility with submissions. That's why I kind of leave the Sunday as the due date. But if you are going to be late on an assignment, do send me an email requesting consideration. Not 2 to 3 days late, but if you think you may be late a week, And so never submit an assignment in any class that would be a week later without getting the instructor's permission. So these are your important dates. So here's the course description: intensive study of and practice in writing processes from invention, researching, drafting, revising, editing, and it's both an individual and collaborative process. So in my face-to-face classes, I usually do a lot of peer teaching, peer reviewing. You won't get the benefit of that in this class because I want you to focus more on your individual planning and individual learning processes first. So there's an emphasis on also effective rhetorical choices, including audience, purpose, arrangement, and style. You are writing the academic essay as a vehicle for learning, communicating, and critical analysis. So that suggests to you that that English is an important subject and discipline, that you have to carry over the concepts that you learned in English composition to other areas of your life, especially to your professional careers. And so it is not something that you leave behind in the English classroom once you get a grade in this course, that you are expected to take with you the invention, the researching, the drafting, the revising, the editing, the working together and individual processes, and tailoring your work to a specific audience and purpose, and arranging it so that it is cohesive and teachable in such a way that if someone takes your information, they can also, you can explain it to yourself, and and that person can explain it to someone else. So this is the course description. Here are your student learning outcomes. They are also outlined in the syllabus. So you want to be able to demonstrate knowledge of individual collaborative writing processes, develop ideas with appropriate support and attribution, write in a style appropriate to audience and purpose, read, reflect, respond critically to a variety of texts, and use edited American English. And so with you're going to do more individual use of writing processes here later in another online course. I will consider collaborative writing, but of course you can work with your fellow peers, sending an email. We do not have a discussion board for this online course, but in the future I will create one. The most important aspect of your writing process is understanding the how to support and attribute the reference sources you use within your paper. You are required to integrate sources, and understanding that when you appropriately use sources, attributing them appropriately, you are tailoring it to a specific audience and purpose, meaning that not every audience member needs the technical information, especially if it is a specific type of audience. However, if it is a layman's audience, you may have to define certain terms. And so therefore, you have to understand your purpose for writing and what type of audience you are considering in your writing. So audience and purpose is very important, and it determines how then you attribute any reference sources you use within your paper. So then when you are thinking about audience and purpose and then support and attribution, you're also responding critically to a variety of texts. You are moving from this concept of summarizing information, even though you can begin integrating a quote with a quick summary and then integrate the quote. But the follow-up should then be an explanation and then further analysis. And this is where you get the opportunity within the higher education context to critically think about sources. Even if your critical thinking might lead to bias, prejudice, some offense, or something like that, within the higher education context, you have that right to sort of think critically and respond critically to a variety of texts. Do be respectful, of course, but it allows you that opportunity to do that. And then, of course, using American edited English, meaning that you write from a formal academic tone. And that further suggests that you are not writing the same way you talk. And so always allow enough time to edit and revise your work. Lessons and assignments, of course, you will see this on eCampus. This is just a very brief introduction, but it introduces you to the writing assignments and the tutorials and worksheets that are connected to those assignments. So you have five types of writing assignments. There's the annotated bibliography, the personal statement, the grit essay, what did you learn, knowledge check, and then argument analysis fall assessment. So the annotated bibliography and personal statement are part of the preparing for transition lectures. That's your first set of lectures. And the goal is to introduce you to the researching process, the writing process, understanding the differences between primary and secondary source materials, and then just becoming informed about um, what your intended major is, what your transfer school is, and how much you have prepared to date. And with the annotated bibliography, it gives you an opportunity, it provides you an opportunity to prepare for transition. Preparing for transition is a 2-year process. It's not when you apply for your new intended school or your job or anything like that. It is you taking the time to prepare. So then before you sit down to write a personal statement, you need to write from an informed point of view. What does the school require of you? Do you take inventory of what you have and do not have and how you're going to close those gaps? Because schools expect you to have an understanding about what it is they require of you as a intended applicant, especially transfer applicants. A if you've experienced significant time out of high school, and so you can't go in saying I don't know what my major is and actually sustain that argument long term. Eventually you're going to have to come up with something because they have to send your applications to the right place. And so the grid essay is just an introduction to the scholarly aspect of this term so that you are aware of the differences between grit and self-control. The knowledge check essay is a metacognitive target, so it's your ability to reflect on what you just wrote in terms of the grit essay and how much you learned and how much of that information you want to take forward. And then the argument analysis is going to be on the concept of um, single sex schools and whether or not they are still valuable today, meaning it's the obsolete argument. So let's get into the five types very briefly. So then preparing for transition lectures, these are your writing assignments, transfer preparation, annotated bibliography, and then the personal statement narrative. And these are your different tutorials and worksheets that you will get points on. So there's a planning worksheets and then there are tutorials. And the very important part of this is that you understand the importance of planning and not just saying that you're going to plan something, but actually jotting down ideas. And so there are different point values assessed, and you will have exposure, more than enough exposure to planning and why it is important. So then the grid essay has also tutorials and worksheets. So there's a summarize, assess, and reflect. And bringing that worksheet from the annotated bibliography lectures is very important because you're going to be using approximately 6 to 7 sources, and you need to have a good understanding about what's going on with those sources. And when you summarize, assess, and reflect, the content that you create with that, you can definitely be able to use that same content within your paper. So it's your way of saving yourself time. Then the thinking routine and then scholarly resources, and as well as the integrating source material handout that's connected to the lectures. So what did you learn? That's your knowledge check, and that is connected to a thinking routine. And thinking routine is just essentially you thinking about everything that you just read and trying to synthesize that information. There's a SWOT questionnaire that's connected to this meta metacognitive essay or knowledge check essay, or you could call it a midterm reflection. And SWOT is just a business term, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, but I use sometimes psychology concepts as well as business concepts and bring them into the English classroom to make learning much more applicable to just everyday life. And so this is going to give you an opportunity to define your SWOT. So then the argument analysis essay is a fall assessment. We have to assess core courses. Core courses are English, science, history, and math. And so the question here is also a prompt question: are single sex colleges obsolete? Meaning or suggesting that when colleges were mostly created for men to attend colleges, and so women later decided that they wanted to create colleges. So then single-sex colleges was not obsolete, meaning that they were still necessary. The same can be said of people of color or African American colleges under HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, that black people could not attend predominantly white institutions for many, many years. And so later it became available through laws and changes, legislation, that they could attend non-black institutions. So then you have to ask the question, are still single-sex colleges obsolete for a certain group of people? So this essay is just kind of like an introduction to the idea of the obsolete argument, because I moved this obsolete argument into English 1302 and discuss whether or not protests and movements are obsolete, given the fact that we have changes in the laws, and uh, that change will really only come through legislation, that protests alone cannot solve the problem. So these are the 5 writing assignments. If you need to contact me, it's also our favors at dCCCD.edu. You can send me an email. Of course, you can send me an email through the eCampus classroom. Do be sure to review the course syllabus for due dates. I also add the course calendar dates under each of the lecture series for convenience, as well as for you to be able to download it. And I just want to welcome you to the course. Thank you very much for choosing this course. Again, feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Have a great day.